Good evening, everyone. It's your host, Moose. It's a late night edition of $10 Sports. I even dressed up for the occasion. Nothing left but to hit that intro.
Dollar.
Sports.
All right, everybody. Hope you're having a great evening. It's your host, Moose of $10 Sports. Mike couldn't join us tonight. That's all right. We'll get through it. He got me his picks. We'll be, of course, bringing out the judgment for his picks last week without him here. So we'll get to make a little bit of fun of him, and then move over to my picks as usual, and then we'll look at NFL Week 12. Kind of a tough slate. It's been getting tougher lately. I guess the more you know about certain teams, the harder you second guess yourself on a few bets. But I think we've got a solid slate of $10 parlays for you. And I know I say this every week, feeling pretty good about the teaser this week. Got an 8-way teaser for you, but we will get there shortly. So again, thank you for joining us tonight or whenever you're watching this. I guess one of the big changes is we're finally on podcast platforms. So if you like listening to us or like listening to podcasts on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, we're even on Spotify. You can now search for $10 Sports, and all of our episodes are finally on there. And we're working on uploading Bucking Hangover. Those should all be up by tomorrow. And as well as the Thunderdome Puckcast, all 7 or 8 episodes. Episode 8 coming out tomorrow morning, by the way. It should be up by the end of tomorrow or no later than Monday as well. So all 3 of our shows are actually going to be up on Spotify. They're going to be up on Apple Podcasts and Google Podcasts as well. We're looking into iHeartRadio. I don't know how many of you guys listen to us on our iHeartRadio, the podcasting platform. But if that's a way to get you to listen to us, we will get it on there as well. So again, welcome to $10 Sports. Getting ready for Week 12 of the NFL season. Getting close to that last home stretch as we get to the playoffs. If you remember our first couple episodes of $10 Sports last year, before we changed formats to YouTube and a more focused show on sports gambling, $10 Sports should be like an hour show where we talked everything about sports. MRod and I just kind of going off, talking about big news stories. And then we'll get some of that archived radio show or a podcast show up there as well. It's pretty good stuff. We had some good conversations about Colin Kaepernick, which actually, amazingly, he was in the news a couple weeks or 2 ago. And a lot of our conversation points were relevant. Talking about getting ready for the playoffs as well, and some of our early wagers, early forays into sports gambling, Cowboys and Rams, if you remember that series when Gurley started disappearing, and all that fun stuff. So we'll get that uploaded as well onto Spotify and all the podcasting platforms. But let's take a look at Week 12. But before we do, as we always do, we grade how we did the week before on Week 11. Week 11 being our bounce back week. We were off about a week or so recovering from our trip to Seattle. We have MRod's picks for the week, for last week. And you can see he went 3-2, probably the best he's done in a little bit, which is great. We'll have to give him let's get him some sound effects here. Good for you.
Oh,
Good for you, MRod. Finally hitting it. Fire those cannons. 3-2. Actually, I was texting with him earlier today, and I think the saddest part is he actually picked all 5 winners. Saints, big winners as well, over the Buccaneers, which is really sad. It's hard for us to pick against our lovable Buccaneers, but I think we all knew that it was going to be a bounce back game for the Saints. So Saints easily covering that 5.5 point spread. Jets with a big win who did the Jets play? They played the Redskins, right? Yep, Jets and Redskins, a big win for Sam Darnold and the Redskins. Also a 34-17 score, which was, ironically, I guess, the same score for Buccaneers Saints. And the Falcons, a big surprising win. I think this was a pick I disagreed with. I don't think I picked the Panthers, but kind of, I remember ragging Mike's pick last week for the Falcons, plus 4.5. Big surprise for the Falcons. Was it 26-3? 29-3. Not even giving up a touchdown against the Carolina Panthers. So the Falcons with the 4.5 points easily covering that spread as well. The two losses, and this just reiterates me taking those big spreads, at least on the minus side. I think there's a little bit to be said on the plus side for those teams. I think there's a little bit more value there. But taking the Raiders minus 10.5, I mean, I think on the surface we all thought this was a slam dunk, right? Raiders at home, the Bengals traveling almost halfway, more than halfway across the country to play the Raiders in the Black Hole, and it was a close game. What was the final? 17-10, so the spread, the margin of victory for the Raiders only 7, so a big loss. Big loss for MRod there, just by a question of 3.5 points, unfortunately. And then another loss to the Vikings. They were a 4-point margin of victory instead of the full 10. Broncos giving them a tough game, and I mean, for the most part they played okay. But the Broncos, wasn't it 21-0 at some point? I think I was watching that game for a little bit. The Broncos jumped up to a pretty substantial lead, and it took all the Vikings had to actually claw back, tie the game, and then eventually win the game 27-23. So I think the Broncos were up at one point. They're 16-0 or maybe 19-0. I'd have to see the box score, but they were up 3 scores, I think, at one point, and the Vikings had to fight back in the second half. I'm pretty sure they were shut out heading into halftime. So a tough loss there. Even though the Vikings won, they didn't cover that margin of victory. So MRod coming out short, not able to cash in on those 200 and change that he had there, even though he picked all 5 winners. That's probably the closest we've gotten on our $10 parlays is MRod with actually picking the 5 winners, and unfortunately those spreads are a little bit to overcome. 3-2 definitely improves MRod's record, and you'll see it scrolling down below. We've got the records going on, and there you see kind of a spoiler alert there. His parlay of the week for the upcoming week. Well, before we get to that, we got Moose's picks, and I also went 3-2. It was a good week for us as well. I actually did I forgot. I did pick the Panthers, which was opposite of MRod's pick there. So Panthers getting absolutely dominated. They were moderate favorites in this one, and the Falcons pulling it off again, 29-3. Honestly, a stellar game from that Falcons defense, who kind of had disappeared from the beginning of the year, and now they're back. I guess we'll see how they perform this week against the Bucs, who may have a little bit more of a passing offense, arguably, than the Carolina Panthers, who are very ground focused. The other loss coming from Nick Foles' return to action, Jacksonville and the Colts. It's amazing. You kind of forget who everyone plays just a week before. It was Jacksonville, the Colts. Jacoby Brissett looking like he was out a little bit for the week prior. I think it was the week before, right? The Steelers game, he was out for part of that game, or at least the rest of the game when he got injured. Looking great. T.Y. Hilton is back. Was he back last week? He's back this week, perhaps. Was it the Colts that played Thursday? Man, it is a late night. Yeah, it was the Colts who played Thursday with this past week for NFL Week 12, taking the L. T.Y. Hilton was back. Last week it was not back, but regardless, Colts look strong against those Jaguars despite the return of Nick Foles. So that was a big loss there for the Jaguars. However, hit the other three. Kind of expected Baltimore and KC to win. They were moderate to borderline heavy favorites. I think the game in Mexico City, Chargers Rams or Chargers KC was a little bit closer than I had hoped. I think they beat the spread anyway, but I'm glad I didn't go through that stress of having that spread on there. The Jets, I don't know if they're trying to make the playoffs or not now. Jets are looking good. I kind of like them. I like. It's a shame that they're getting stuff. They're poop in a group, if you will. Week 11, week 12 in the season, but they've looked pretty good. Le'Veon Bell looks good. I think if you get a couple pieces over the next season or two for the Jets, I mean, I'm not saying they're going to be good next year. I think a lot of things have to go right for them to be a playoff contender next year, but I think they could put some pieces together the next few years, or have some help on the offensive line and a few key pieces on defense. I think the Jets could be good in a year or two. But they came away with theirs. I had them straight up, and their victory against the Redskins, of course, 34-17. I think Mike and I had the same pick there. So 3-2 for me as well. I think that pushed me slightly over 500. We'll have to catch it down on the under ticker in the next couple switches. It'll give us our records, but pretty good, respectable week for both of us, 3-2. Let's see how we do on this upcoming week, however. And let's get the slate of games pulled up for you. I think we have it on the alternate screen for you this week. Let's take a look at what the games look like. So now I have the week odds from week 11. We might have to look at week 12. Let's bring those up. And pardon the Thunderdome Puckcast illustrations there. I think we got to make sure we switch that off for our next show. But we got the NFL scores there, so we'll take a look at week 12 with, of course, the Colts and Texans already happening. Dolphins and Browns, I think, is going to be really, really interesting coming up as well, because I mean, the Browns are heavy favorites. It's like at 10 points or so, and I think the Browns. I don't know if the Browns cover 10 points here. I just really don't. It would be very surprising. I have to see what the formal stats are for the Browns actually covering the spread this week, because you've seen me in my experience with trying to cover with the Browns. They were my heroes early. I was on the Browns bandwagon earlier in the year, and it just did not work out for me. So I don't know. I don't know how I feel about the Browns 10-point favorites over the Dolphins. We will have to see how that goes. Let's see if we can get some of the lines here as well, because for some reason my data on week 12 wasn't popping up. So we talked a little bit about the Browns and Dolphins, and it looks like the lines moved a little bit, 10.5 actually. The Seahawks Eagles for me was really interesting. Seahawks +1. It's actually jumped up to -120. I think the smart play is just to pick them straight up to win. I don't know if the margin of victory here is going to be 1 exactly. So it's basically a pick 'em at this point. We're at -110. Bears Giants I thought was really interesting. I almost, given that we're gonna take this as an under, I think you have to go Giants plus 6 because I think the margin of victory is going to be pretty close. Panthers Saints was a no go. I hate those large spread games. I mean, if you really want to pick this one, this could be one where it could be Panther. I would take Panthers with the spread here, maybe. If you're gonna go straight up, I mean, minus 500 is not really a great value pick. Uh, but I think I would take Panthers plus 10 here. And if you want to tease this, and get this maybe to Panthers plus 16, this might be a good pick for you as well. Steelers Bengals. I don't think a lot of points are going to be scored here. I think they're part of our one of our legs for our 1 o'clock over unders. And I think I took the over here. I might have taken over 37.5. We'll get to those momentarily. Lions Redskins with those $10 front row tickets. What's going on StubHub? $10 tickets to get into the game, right? Lion that actually jumped up to -4. I think I ended up taking them at -3, so that was nice. So Lions, it's currently up to -4 and a -200 for the straight up pick. I think you got to take the Lions here. I don't see the Redskins pulling this one off. Driscoll's actually looked pretty well, pretty good, surprisingly. I know when with Stafford being out, all of a sudden it was Driscoll. It's like, who's this Driscoll guy? Apparently a running quarterback. I think very unexpected. Bucks Falcons for me was a little bit of a no go. Didn't really want to pick this one. I guess mostly because I don't like picking games with the Buccaneers unless I'm fairly certain. Like last week when we knew the Saints were gonna demolish them pretty good. That here, I don't know. Falcons have played so well as of late. I mean, maybe they're due for a letdown, and maybe this is an opportunity for one of your underdog picks here, Bucks plus 170. I just don't know. I'm hoping the Bucks pull it off. Of course, as a Buccaneers fan, but this one for me at least is a toss up, and enough for that I stayed away from it. Talked about Dolphins, Browns, Raiders, Jets. For me, this is upset alert for the Raiders traveling across the country over east. I took the Jets straight up on this one, not even with the points here. I took them straight up to win. I feel that they've looked pretty good lately, and this might be their first kind of key win for Adam Gase and company. So Jets straight up to win. Broncos Bills. This is definitely going to be a low scoring affair. I'm taking the Bills here. I think should be pretty sound there as well. Titans Jaguars, kind of an odd game for a 305 matchup. Only two 305 matchups this week. One of them being, of course, the big game of the week: Cowboys at Patriots. Then a random Jaguars and Titans matchup. This one I didn't even bother to look at because I wasn't really interested in. But I guess I would take the Titans straight up, and maybe to get a little bit more value, I think I could see the Titans being the Jaguars by at least 4. Patriots Cowboys. Wow, spread of -6. I think this is a slam. I mean, part of me is like, well, what Cowboys team is going to show up? New England Patriots defense has been so good for so long for all of this year. I think this is a slam dunk. Patriots at least to win. I think it'd be interesting to consider the money line or the spread here, -6. -6, I think is a good bet. Of where good observation by Vegas. So plan accordingly, I guess. Packers 49ers was also on my no-go list. I'm convinced about the 49ers, but at the same time, I just they're playing maybe their strongest competition as of yet. Maybe not counting the the Seahawks. So we'll see if it's Green Bay Packers defense who's a fraud, or if it truly is the 49ers defense who may not be able to hold on, and especially when they're playing a future Hall of Famer like Aaron Rodgers. And of course, Monday Night Football. Ravens Rams should be a great game, but I think one of my picks is Ravens straight up for the $10 parlay. I think I have, and we'll look at that shortly. And then I think I have them on Moose's Monster Teaser as well. Getting that to Ravens, I think at the two it ended up being 2.5 or 3.5, something like that. I will take a look at it shortly. So let's look at this week's picks. We got the new scroll here, just reminding you about we are now on podcast platforms. So again, reminder: Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify. Just make sure to look for $10 Sports, $10 Sports, and you should be able to find all our episodes. Take a look at MRod's $10 parlay of the week. Couple good picks here. Oh, God, really smart pick with the Seahawks. He's taking the spread, though. I think I would have just taken him straight up because I think there was a little bit more value there. Probably could have bumped up prize money there a little bit. Raiders were showing Raiders -3, and that line still holds. So he's going to take the Raiders. I think I took the Jets. So this is going to be a little bit of a contention point for us as well. Lions -3.5. I think it's pretty smart. Same thing with Ravens 3.5. Mike is taking Packers +3, so maybe not believing in the Garoppolo magic. He's gonna take Packers +3. Okay, I like it, Mike. Mike doing all spreads for his picks. He always keeps me jumping. I'll give you that, MRod. You keep me on my toes for what your picks are. So Seahawks +1, Raiders -3. Lions -3.5. Same thing for the Ravens -3.5. And then Packers +3 as a slight underdog against the 49ers. That's MRod's $10 parlay of the week. $10 looking to pay out $239.42 for him. Good luck, MRod, on your parlay of the week. Let's look at Moose's $10 parlay of the week. A few picks in common here. I took the Lions straight up, not with the spread there. So lost a little bit of value there. And I took the Seahawks, who were at -105. I think the line might have moved anyway. Let me look at the most current line. So straight up to win, went up to -110. So was able to get a little bit of value there before the line moved. Taking the Bills -190. Jets at +150. My one upset as part of the $10 parlay. And I'm going to take Giants +6. And I talked about this a little bit. I think Trubisky's out. I think this is going to be a low-scoring game. This is going to be under, I think they're, what's the under? 40? 40 still the line. I think this is going to be an under 40, hopefully. I hope this is what I picked, right? And I know that it's part of one of my three-way parlays. Yeah, I went under 40, thankfully. I know what I'm still talking about, despite the time that it is almost midnight here, Central Time. Giants +6, I think, because the margin of victory is going to be close. So I'm taking Jets straight up, Lions straight up, Bills straight up, Seahawks straight up, but I want those Giants +6. A little bit of insurance there for us. So if we hit all 5 of those on $10, the $10 parlay this week pays out $202.59. So good luck to me. Good luck to MRod. Let's see what the teaser's going to pay. So we got Moose's Monster Teaser. We've hit one of these already. We were close last week, too. I think we just missed the one leg to be able to cash out on that. So, again, I always kind of explain this every week, just in case you're a new listener. Teasers, you get to buy, essentially you'll want to pick all your spreads, all your picks and winners on spreads, but then you get to buy a mass number of points that essentially makes everything in your favor. So if you remember, the Seahawks are +1 right now. If you tease it with 6 points, that magically, by the power of sports gambling magic, becomes Seahawks +7. The Giants were +6, so we get another 6 points. So as long as the Giants can keep it within 12, that's a winner. So on and so forth. I think The interesting one is going to be Saints -4. I like Bills +2. Got Ravens +2.5. Jets +9 makes me feel a little bit better about that one. I think Steelers -0.5. So essentially, the Steelers just have to win their game. And then, of course, Lions +2.5 to beat the Redskins. So they get a little bit of a margin of victory there. So we got 8 nice picks here. What did we end up going here? A teaser. I put in $20 for the payout to be $280. So $20 to yield $280. I will take that. So hopefully that works out in our favor as well. What's next? Doing over-unders? We're doing over-unders. So I did 2 sets of 1 p.m. over-unders, mostly because I don't really like the 4 p.m. and after games very much in terms of the odds in my favor. They never seem to be in my favor, but we're doing 2 sets of 1 p.m. games. So we might have some payouts as early as 4 p.m. Eastern tomorrow. We'll report all those out at $10 Sports on Twitter. So if you're not following us on Twitter, of course, $10 Sports, $10 Sports. First set of the over-unders. So Buccaneers, Falcons, right now the line is showing 52 total points. I'm going to take the under on that one. I actually meant to type under for Giants, Bears. So that actually should read under 40. And then Denver and Buffalo, I'm actually going to take over. I'm going to take the over 37.5. So under 52 for Bucks Falcons. That should say under 40 for Bears Giants. And I'll verify that right now. I'll check my open tickets to make sure that I didn't transcribe that incorrectly. Maybe I deep down meant to put that. Yeah, no, I took the under 40 for Giants Bears, over 37.5 for Broncos Bills, and under 52 for the Buccaneers and Falcons. So a couple under picks there. Like I say every week, under is the if you're playing a craps game, I feel like under is the don't pass bet of sports gambling. So everyone's usually cheering to hit the over. So we'll see what happens there. And then set number 2 of the 1 p.m. over-unders. A couple overs here. Took Lions, Redskins. We're going to go over 40. I think the Saints and Panthers game goes over 46. And I'm feeling that the Steelers Bengals game is going to be a terrible, terrible, terrible game. And that's going to be under 47.5 points. So again, Lions, Redskins, I'm liking over 40. Like an over 46 for the Saints, Panthers, and Steelers, Bengals. I'm liking under 37.5 because those are 2 very, very, very bad offensive teams right now. So I think that brings us to the end of our show tonight again. Thank you so much for listening. Sorry MRod couldn't make it with us, but don't worry, we got his picks. And we'll see on week 13 how we did for our week 12 picks. Oh, we just saw the picks under there. I think Mike's up to 21 and 34 now. So good on you, Mike. I think you're getting almost into the 40%, picking them right. So that's it for $10 Sports this week. Thank you so much for being here with us. It's been your host, Moose, in a nice little sweater and collared shirt. Don't worry, we'll have the sports apparel for you next week. Make sure to hit that subscribe button right there to your bottom right hand corner to subscribe to us on YouTube. Subscribe to us on podcast applications everywhere as well. Make sure if you're on Apple Podcasts, hit that subscribe button so you get our latest episodes. And the best way to search for us, of course, $10 Sports, 10 like the digits, $10 Sports. You'll be able to find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify. And if we add more platforms, we will let you know about that as well. Our other shows are also coming to podcasting platforms in the next week or so, probably by the end of tomorrow. So you'll see Bucking Hangover should all be uploaded by tomorrow, as well as the Thunderdome podcast with a new episode coming your way tomorrow morning. It's been Moose, and on behalf of MRod, have a great night. We'll be back next week with your next $10 sports, where I think we might start incorporating some hockey bets. It's really close to getting some NHL bets going here. It's seeming to look like that the Boston Bruins are a safe bet to make some money, as well as the Washington Capitals and Edmonton Oilers. But we'll talk about that next week. It's been your host, Moose. Have a great night. It's been $10 sports. See you next week.
$10 sports.